where we talk about outgoing board members and who's coming into the board. And then I'm going to pass it along to Cindy and Doug, who are going to talk a little bit about what's gone on from their perspective, the head of school report, and then what you're all really here for, which is the forward-looking, what's happening next year. So I guess I should start with who I am. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah Munson, and I am the current board president for our board of trustees. I've been in this position for a whopping, I think, 2.5 months at this point. So if I seem inexperienced, I come by it naturally, and I hope you will just all bear with me while I lead my first annual meeting. And we will be taking questions as much as we can along the way, and especially at the end. So throw your questions in the chat and we'll be keeping track, and I'll stick around to the end too and answer questions that are directed more towards the board, and Doug and Cindy will be on hand as well. So with that, I'm gonna get going. Let's go ahead and flip past this one. Okay, so from a board perspective, a lot of this year has been, continuing to be defined by some COVID stuff, of course, and also by the fact that Cindy is leaving us. Of course, when any head of school transitions out, it is complicated and a little bittersweet for the community. And we've been working, and luckily Cindy gave us lots of notice. And so we've been working hard to try to keep this bridge for the school during this time and ensure a smooth transition. So a couple of the things that we did are we established a head of school search committee, as I think you all know, and an interim head of school search committee. We worked to support the school and staff as Cindy is preparing to leave, and she is helping by doing some of the transition work to make sure that there is continuity. Continuing to develop our working committee structure. So that's just how the board works. And that's things like running a good finance process where we see financials on a monthly or quarterly process. It's having a advancement committee that works on ensuring that we're supporting the staff for admissions and for raising money and fundraising, the work that Lauren and Lisa Lemke do. So we have been continuing to develop that structure. We initiated a strategic planning process, which Deborah Eskenazi, I hope I pronounced that right, led and has kicked off that process. And we will do all we can to continue that, especially as we're looking and going through the process on head of school. We've been continuing to improve our budget, annual audit, and financial aid processes. We're identifying areas where the school requires investment, so we can build plans over the next, in the short term, medium term, and long term for how we invest in the school. And it's everything from getting Leora a dedicated music room, to new carpet, to investments in technology, and prioritizing and trying to figure out when we can put funds to those things, and developing the next generation of board of trustees leadership. And that's really important because people come on the board and they come off the board, and that's very healthy. And we always want to have the next set of folks who can participate. And we're always looking for new great people to participate. We'll talk more about that in a second too. Would you mind flipping the page? There we go. So on that note, in recognition of our outgoing board members, we have 5 folks that are leaving us today. And I think a couple of them are here, and maybe we can spotlight them for a second. But Audrey Fox, David Gartner, Ron Metz, Yuval Minkowski, and Howard Sylvie have been incredible contributors on the board. And I just want to say, Audrey is one of the folks who led our head of school search committee. David Gardner has been on the board for, well, I think he's with us tonight, and he can probably tell us, but for a very long time, and brings an incredible amount of institutional knowledge and always reminds us of the most positive and wonderful things about our school, which is an amazing, amazing characteristic. And Howard has been a part of the finance committee for this last several years, and has really led the school through professionalizing its financials as well. Hi, David, how are you? Can you tell us how many?
All right. As I tell everybody, I don't remember how long I've been on the board. but it was a great ride.
It says
and it was an
well
honor.
done. Well, and we are so sorry to see you go. And Ron and Yuval have both been very active. They haven't been involved in committees in the last couple of years, but they always bring a tremendous perspective and have helped see our school through. I particularly really thinking about the classroom model, the role of Hebrew at the school, and again, helping to support the financial wherewithal and get us in a good place. So I want to say goodbye, and I'm going to clap. I know, not all of you can, but we're going to be doing a volunteer coffee, and I hope that everyone will be there. And if you see any of these folks around, if you just share my thanks as well. Next, we can talk about who the new members of the Board of Trustees are. And it's also an incredible group. I mean, this is a very, very talented group for a whole bunch of reasons. And you all probably know these people in some cases better than I do. But our governance committee went to the community, I think you'll remember this, and asked who would be great. And we talked to many, many people, not we, the governance committee, and did interviews and narrowed down the group to this wonderful group of people. And it's Nurit Ambrose, Hannah Anderson, Eric Karlinski, Marcy Gordon, Stephanie Rothstein, Cindy Sherman, and Mark Stockdale. And you can see, hi, Cindy. And I'm not gonna go into a tremendous amount of detail about all these folks because I know that the Warriors game is on, and I know that is really tough. I really appreciate you all being here and I'm humbled by it, given that there's a Warriors game on. But I can see Eric Karlinski there on the screen. There's Nurit, who just came up. Cindy is there. And so, and I think I see, sorry, it's going fast for me. So if I missed you, I'm sorry, just wave. This is the downside to Zoom. The collection of folks here is incredible because we have everybody from people who specialize in, Mark is new to our community and we've somehow convinced him to join our board. I'm so thankful. Marcy Gordon has a background in grants. Stephanie Rothstein has a background in incredible education. Nurit has been involved in our advancement efforts for the last 2 years now, I think. And I won't go into all the details. You will be able to find bios for each of these people on our website. Each one of them brings a wealth of experience and a ton of heart to what they're going to bring to this board. And I'm super, super excited. They will begin their work in July. That is when they officially take their role. So a huge thank you from me and from the entire Board of Trustees and hopefully the whole community. Okay, now when you think about a board, there are two sort of sections to a board. There's the executive committee, and then there is the other Board of Trustees members. And then we break into subgroups as well, like the finance committee or the development committee. But this going into next year, the group that is going to act as the executive committee is myself as president, Nurit Ambrose as vice president, Lindsay Roller, who has been on the board as vice president. Marcy Gordon has agreed to be the secretary and parliamentarian. Helen Solnit and Dina Acevedo are acting in a kind of unique role. They're going to act as part of the executive committee. They've both been very involved in the head of school search committee. And so we have agreed that they will stay on the executive committee to help make sure that we secure a head of school and that we transition that person appropriately and with great continuity. We have one big hole, as you'll see, that big in block letters vacant, and it was put that way so I wouldn't forget to mention this, although it's hard to forget, which is that we're in the market for a fantastic person, and this is an incredible opportunity. If you happen to be comfortable with financials, say you've had any experience at all reading financial statements or doing budgets, we would love you to join our team as the treasurer. You could go into a leadership role and have an incredible impact at the school. Now, Deborah has incredibly kindly said that she would step back onto the executive committee and fulfill this treasurer role for us if we don't find a person by the end of the summer. And that's incredible because she'll be the first to admit that that is not her strength or specialty. And she has really kindly said that we won't, and so that we don't have to risk going without this person She will step into the role if we're not able to find somebody who has more pertinent experience to fill the treasurer role. So if you are interested in this position, you can reach out to me or to anybody on this list right here, and we would be happy to talk with you about you joining our team. So that is our current board. And I think with that, my role here tonight is pretty much done. So I just want to say thank you to everyone again. I'll be around until the end of the meeting and happy to take messages on chat as well. And just in case I don't get an opportunity to say so, anytime before the school ends, I just want to say thank you to everybody for helping to keep the doors open, keep everyone safe, and to help keep Yavneh an incredibly special place for all of our kids to be. And I'm so thankful to all of you for that. So thanks.
And thank you, Sarah, for all the work that you've done. While you haven't been the president of the board for a while, you've been involved in the school for many years, and certainly you have done many years worth of work in the last month or so that you've been president of the board. So thank you. Thank you for taking that on. I did notice that Rabbi Birkenwald came and he was going to give a drosh, so I'm wondering if Rabbi, you'd like to give your drosh before I continue on.
I would be happy to, and honored. Thank you. Thank you. Erev Tov l'chulam. Good evening to everyone. I've been honored to sit on the Yavneh Board of Directors for a number of years now, providing some community rabbinic presence on the board, and also it's as a parent of two graduates, one of whom is heading off to college next year. Yavneh is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to share a short teaching from the Talmud. This appears in tractate Ta'anit, and it's in a section of where kind of one rabbi after another is riffing on various verses and talking about the value of learning and education. So I'll just jump into it. So the first teaching is Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. And he asks a question. He says, Lama nimshlu divrei Torah ka'etz. So why are words of Torah, why are teachings of Torah compared to a tree? Right? And then he quotes a verse, which may be familiar to a lot of us. Eitz chayim hi lemachazikim ba. Right? It's a tree of life to those who hold on to it. Right? So Torah is compared to a tree. It's a tree of life to those who hold on to it. What might we expect to come next? Something about how a tree is always growing and our knowledge of Torah. That's what we would expect. But that's not what he says. He says, the verse comes to tell you that just as a small piece of wood can ignite a large piece, so too a small, he said literally, Talmidei Chachamim Ktanim, small Torah scholars, Mechadedim et Hagdolim, they sharpen the great ones. So he doesn't focus on the growing, the beauty of the tree, he focuses on the flammability of the tree, which is kind of an interesting direction to go in, especially for us in California. But the idea is that we, the greatest scholar learns from the lesser scholar. And relating to this is the next rabbi. And this next rabbi is Rabbi Chanina. And he says, Harbe lamadati me rabotai. I have learned much from my teachers. Umechaverai yoter me rabotai. And from my friends, from my companions, those at my own level, I've learned even more than from my teachers. Umitalmidai yoter mikulan. And from my students, I've learned more than all of them. And so here, maybe he's saying a little bit sweeter than Rabbi Nachman Bar Yitzchak. But here we have really a true teacher, someone who recognizes that the best way to be complete, to be full in life, is to have students and to learn from those students. And I as a rabbi have many opportunities to teach. As a parent, I think this applies as well, that I feel that I've become more complete as a person because of my experience as a parent. And it's so important for us to be, as we kind of come to the end of a school year, to be thinking about all that we have learned as parents, as teachers, as those who are running our community. And I'll say as well that as a board member, each of us who serve on the board of directors bring something different to the board. And some of those who sit on the board, I would look to as my teachers, especially those who are involved in finance. Some I might look to as my equals, and some I may look to as their teacher, that I have something to impart as well. And so for anybody who serves in leadership, it's important not only to focus on that which we're giving to Yavneh, but also the incredible gifts that we are receiving as well, and how we become more complete as individuals, as Jews, as parents, as teachers. So I want to thank all those board members of the outgoing board who have put in so much time this past year, and welcome those who are joining us. Very excited to be able to both learn and teach one another in the year ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for those words, Reverend Birkenwald. It's incredibly important to tie what we do back to Torah and to make it relevant, because that is one of our fundamental beliefs. We have been on a bit of a roller coaster these last couple of years, but it has been truly an honor and a privilege to be part of the Yavneh community for the last 6 years. And it is, as Sarah said, it is very bittersweet for me that I am making this choice to move in a different direction, to have time to spend with my family for the next couple of years. But I hope that I will remain part of the Yavneh community. I will come back and visit. Mora Vanina told me yesterday that she's signing me up to volunteer at the Day of Code. And so I'll be here then, and I certainly hope to be here for many more occasions as Yavneh continues to go on for many, hopefully 40 or more years. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about that through all of these times and trials and tribulations of the last couple of years, that we are a school, and our focus has always been on academic excellence, on being there for our students for their academic progress, but also for their social and emotional progress as well. And we do this through our fundamental beliefs, the first of which is the importance of relevance. And when I was thinking about this last night, I couldn't help thinking about all of the amazing projects and units of study that have happened this year. From learning about space and actually building a space station in kindergarten, which had never been done before, to having our 6th graders at the end of their Giver project create their own utopian societies, to our 3rd graders, our Kita Gimel, who just finished this unit of study where they combine the idea of persuasive writing with social justice, with math, with cooking, and marketing, and they're going to be selling different products, cookies, I believe, tomorrow afternoon at dismissal. But they had to learn all along the way, and they even had to write persuasive essays for what different organizations they wanted the funds to go to. So all of that together really made the learning relevant for them because it was important to them, and then made that learning deeper and sustained them, and sustained their attention throughout these projects, all of these projects, because they were connected to it. And we all know that everyone learns in a different way. And it's more than auditory learners or kinesthetic learners or visual learners, but we all learn differently. And it's important that at our school that we allow students to learn not only in their best way, but also learn in ways that may be harder for them. So we stretch them a little bit beyond that comfort zone for them. And it's equally important that they're able to express their knowledge and their understanding in different ways. And we see this through the use of sometimes speeches or presentations that our students do, through essays that they write, through poetry that they write, through building that they write, that they're building models, and also through the arts. They express their words through art, different multimedia art, as well as through music. Our 8th graders are working right now to prepare for graduation, and one thing stuck with me in one of the speeches that hopefully you'll come next week and you'll hear, talked about when words aren't enough, we express ourselves through art. So at Yavneh, this idea of academic excellence is expressed in many, many different ways. And then our third kind of part of our fundamental beliefs is the idea of integration, that everything is better when you layer different things together so that that meaning can be much deeper. So whether it's our students using the skills that they learn for careful reading of text, and then they learn how to be critical readers, and then they use that when they analyze social studies texts, maybe that are primary sources, or they read an abstract from a science article, or they study Megillat Esther. In whatever it is that they're reading, they're using the skills that they learned in their English language arts classes. Whatever they're writing, they're using the skills that they learned as well. So this idea of integration and layering really allows our students to have a much deeper understanding of what they're doing. And finally, the importance of partnership, that everything is better when it's done in community. And this is one of my favorite quotes that I have up on the slide from Pirkei Avot, that when you find yourself a teacher, that you make yourself a friend. And whether it's through Hevruta learning that we do from the youngest of students all the way up through 8th grade, it's another thing that the 8th graders talk a lot about in their speeches is this Hevruta learning. It's all done better in partnership at school, and it's done better as a school to work in partnership. So I've been very fortunate this year to have had Doug as my partner, and he's standing right next to me, so I'm kind of looking at him. But Doug has been my partner. He's been the academic leader of the school this year, and it's been wonderful to be able to work with him. And then we have this other, rounding out the rest of our administrative team. Thankfully, Rabbi Levenberg was able to come and be our interim rabbi for this year as she led us spiritually and she led us educationally. Lisa joined our team as our director of development. We had Lauren, who joined our team as our director of admission. Another Lisa Strauss, helped out with our communications, which have improved vastly under her expertise. If you look at the slides, that she created the template of that herself. And we have Michael, who helps us out as our controller in finances. That administrative team, we meet weekly. Life would not happen at Yavneh without them. And then, of course, we can't forget that all this excellent learning only happens when we have exceptional teachers. And there are many teachers who are joining us today, and I just can't say enough words, maybe I need to create an art project, about the teachers and about how every single day each teacher comes to Yavneh and gives their whole heart and their whole mind and their whole soul to their students, wanting to meet each student where they are and help them progress as they traveled the journey of whichever grade they were at this year. So thank you to all of our teachers, all of our educators who have made a difference in the lives of our students, of your children, and continue to do that on a daily basis. And finally, there are more partners in our community. Everyone here on the Zoom call, our parents are our partners as well. We appreciate that as parents, that you trust us with your children, with your most special, your most prized part are your children, and that you trust us and you have your children come to our school every day to learn and to grow. Thank you for your partnership. And of course, there are even more thank yous. Although all parents, every single parent is our partner, we have some parents who have gone above and beyond to partner with Yavneh this year. So Rachel Huck has taken on the role of being our coordinator of the room parents, and then we have room parents in every single grade, and from sending weekly emails to families, to sending other communications during the week, to helping with different events on the class grade levels. We appreciate all of the support of all of the many parents who helped us this year. And we couldn't really do this without our YPA, without our Yavneh Parent Association. And the last school year, when we were in COVID and in and out of school and it was very challenging, we didn't have a robust YPA. And at the end of last year and over the summer, I was thinking, who can we ask to help lead our YPA, to revitalize it, to bring that community feeling back that Yavneh has, always had, and cherishes. And the first two people that I thought of are Lisa Schweitzer and Diana Wilmot. So the work that you did this year to bring the community back, to focus on community events, I can't thank you enough for all the work that you did, for being here for us, for bringing back YPA, for leading monthly meetings, creating community. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you have done for the YPA this year. And I saw Diana. I'm not sure if Elisa is here as well. If we want to spotlight them, we can find.
We're in this. We're in the same square.
Oh, there they are.
So Doug is finding you. I want to spotlight you. There you are. So thank you. Now I can see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you did, for taking this on, for bringing it back. We truly appreciate all of your work and your effort in the YPA this year. So thank you. Thank you. And then there is an old saying that if you want something to get done, you ask the busiest person in the room to do it. And Nurit actually fills that role at Yavneh this year. Not only was she on the development committee and met weekly, sometimes twice a week with Lisa Lemke, but she also chaired the gala. It's the first time we've had a gala in 3 years. It was an amazing event. It could not have happened without Nurit. Nurit, you not only chaired these two things and were so wonderful to be here, but it felt like we should give you an honorary badge because you've been here a lot helping with everything else that goes on at the school. You were here this morning helping Kita Gimel in the kitchen cooking. So thank you, thank you. Yes, you're very busy. You even have a full-time job that's not at Yavneh. But we love having you involved. So glad that you're going to continue your involvement with the board next year. And then this next slide has a whole lot of names. We apologize if we missed anybody's name on this list. It's alphabetical by first name. If we missed you, we're very, very sorry. But we wanted to kind of just do a shout out to all of these folks who helped at events, at the gala, setting up things for milestones, whatever it is. Again, we can't, right? It takes a village to run a school, to raise a child. And you as parents, you as volunteers are our village. Sarah mentioned earlier, but I want to mention one more time, that on the last day of school, which is next Thursday, a week from today, we are having a moving up ceremony. Everyone's invited. It's going to be in the auditorium at 8:40 at Jewish Silicon Valley in their auditorium. And after it's done around 9:30, we're going to have some coffee and some appreciation for any parents who want to stick around. So you're welcome to come to that as well. And then my last slide, of course, I saved the best for last, are our almost newest alumni class. This group of 8th graders are truly spectacular individuals, and as a class, an amazing group of human beings. So we hope that you will come to graduation. It is next Wednesday at 1:30. It will be in person in the auditorium, and help celebrate this class, be with them as they, for the last time, talk about what Yavneh meant to them, and then they are ready to move on to their next phase, their next chapter in their journey. We know that these will be the change makers, that these students will be the ones who make a difference in the world and who make everything better. So please join us for graduation as we celebrate the class of 2022. And now it's my privilege and honor to pass it over to Doug.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I am really excited about getting to spend some time to look ahead at next year, but I'm going to start with a little bit of a reflection of this year. I will be brief because I know that Sarah and Cindy have shared some reflections. But yesterday morning, I was out at recess duty, first with the middle schoolers, the 6th and the 7th graders, and then with the kindergarten through 2nd graders and the playground. And I think the first thing that struck me was looking at 6th graders who were so awkward and uncomfortable in the beginning of the year, finding their own and playing basketball with the 7th and 8th graders, or having their little group of their little clan of friends that they sat with at recess, and they were sharing stories about their outside of school lives, and they were listening to one another and reflecting with one another, and the social development that's happened with that group of students, I think exemplifies things that have happened in all of our grade levels over the course of the year. And I think my other thing that I think it's necessary to share with you is our kindergarten friends who can't reach the the monkey bars in September. And when you're out at recess duty with the littles in September, they're like, Doug, can you pick me up so I can get to the monkey bars? And you help pick them up. And I'm watching them reach right for it. And the physical growth and the emotional growth of our students between September and June has truly been remarkable. And as you can imagine, working in a school, the second half of the school year is a very busy, the whole time of the school year is a very busy time, but especially in the months from like February through June, because you're trying to close up a school year and get through the second half of a school year, but you're also full steam ahead preparing for what the future is going to bring. We celebrated together as a community our 40th year at our gala a couple of weeks ago, and we've spent a lot of time looking at what our 41st year is going to look like. So tonight I'm going to go through about seven different bullet points about our Shin Shiniyot program, an educational leadership team, some policy review, some curriculum work we're going to be working on as a school, some communications items that are directly related to our teaching and learning, and some middle school program updates, and then just some like nuts and bolts of things we need to know going forward. So this year, back in September, all of our families received, in collaboration between the YPA and I believe the Board of Trustees, were sent a survey, and we gathered a lot of data from that survey over the course of the year as I've gotten to know our students and our faculty members and our parents and some of their hopes and dreams and things that they identify as strengths and areas of need. We've kind of put together some things that we can do to make ourselves an even stronger and relevant school going into the future. I'm really excited for this program that we first started talking about, I think back in November or December, and that's our Shin Shiniyot program. We are so lucky. Beginning in early August, we will have Aliyah and Dana coming all the way from Israel to spend the entire school year with us. Their sole purpose is to engage with each and every one of your students and spread Israeli culture and Hebrew in and outside of the classrooms. They are going to be a resource not just to your students, but also a resource to our faculty as they plan activities and learning experiences all related to the Jewish holiday. They will provide mentorship to our students. And then everybody knows the beloved Mora Rinat in third grade. She is going to be serving as kind of their mentor as a former Shin Shiniyot herself back in her younger days. So we are so incredibly grateful for the opportunity to welcome Aliyah and Dana into our community in August. When we have our welcome back bash, they will be there, and I encourage each and every one of you to introduce yourselves. And we are actively looking for host families. So if you are interested in having a young person with you and your family for a 3 or 4 month period over the course of this coming August 22 through August 23, you can reach out to me and I'll pass it on, or you can send it to Rinat, who you may or may not know how to get a hold of. So you can get a hold of me, send me contact information, and we'll handle it from there. So we are so grateful to have this new program, or this, I guess we've had them before, but we're excited to reintroduce this program to our Yavneh community. One thing that we've heard from some parents this year and is our school discipline policy. I don't think, but I know that Yavneh is not exclusive to this. This year, there were behaviors seen by students, not just at Yavneh, but at many schools, because our students lost a year and a half of socialization. And because of that, we, along with many other schools that are kind of grappling with this, are going through and we're forming a committee of faculty and community members to solidify our existing policy to make sure it meets the needs of our entire community in a consistent fashion. Our school discipline policy as it stands is actually pretty solid, but it can definitely use some fine tuning, as with any policy. And it will, of course, make sure that it is rooted in these three important goals of consistent implementation, focus as on restoring the relationships via logical consequences, that you break, you buy philosophy, and rooted, of course, in our fundamental beliefs. So we are going to actively be working on this over the course of the summer. And in August, when families begin to receive their handbooks for the upcoming year, this will be represented in that handbook. Something I am most excited about for next year is our educational leadership team. I am a firm believer in the importance of lifelong learning. One of my personal mottos is we are nothing if we are not evolving. And I know that Yavneh, like Cindy so articulately said a few minutes ago, what I would say is the most committed and dedicated and caring group of educators I've ever had the pleasure of working with. They come to work every day with nothing but the best interests of their students, of your students in mind, and to foster leadership out of a group of our faculty members is going to not just help them grow personally and professionally, but it's going to really take our incredible program, our incredible academics, and truly even bolster it even more. So next year, it is my pleasure to announce Jamie Zimmer as our Director of Jewish Life and Learning. This is a role that will begin in July. Once the school year ends, we'll make sure she gets a week or two off, and she'll dive right in July. Elena Cohn will continue her role as a classroom teacher and take on the work as our lower school literacy coordinator. What I'm most excited about with Elena is her ability to use data to inform her reading and writing instruction. And I'm excited for her to use her knowledge of that and some of our other pedagogies that are seen as best practices throughout the country and inspire our entire lower school faculty, and all with the effort of trying to make our reading and writing program even stronger. Vanina, our STEAM director, will continue that work, being our STEAM director and teacher and taking on the leadership role of science in the lower school. And she's already begun that work a little bit this year, and she will continue that work going into the fall. Danielle Sapiens, who, if you have a middle schooler, you know her. She will continue her work as a math director and middle school math faculty. The one, the only, Janessa Schwartz is also here tonight, and she is going to be continuing her work as the amazing ELA teacher extraordinaire and taking on some middle school coordinator position, where she will focus a lot on internal and external communications. A lot of the work that she's been doing for many years as it pertains to student council and programming for the students, but just now with an official title and official scope with her role. And then finally, the one and the only Mr. Zach Sleep will continue his work as being as a classroom teacher, and is also taking on the responsibility of helping us solidify some curriculum work, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes. It has its own slide. So a huge, huge, huge welcome and thank you to Jamie, Elena, Vanina, Danielle, Janessa, and Zach for loving your school and loving your program and our students so much. You are taking on these additional responsibilities. I am so incredibly excited to work with each and every one of you starting later on this summer. So that is our educational leadership team. Next up is family communication. One of the things that we've heard from many parents is, Doug, I know my kid is learning because they talk about learning, but I don't see it. I don't see a lot of learning. And just because we're not seeing learning at home doesn't mean it's not happening. And I think, and I actually know this to be true, this is also a side effect of remote learning, because for a year and a half or more, each of our parents were sitting behind one of their students while they were learning. So they knew what the teacher was teaching, they knew how their kid was doing, and they had that instant feedback about their student in many, many cases. And now that we're back in person, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. We also recognize the importance of partnership, and that is one of our fundamental beliefs. And because we so strongly know that a strong partnership between the school and the school and the home is so critical, we are going to be identifying a more consistent mode of communication, which we can share work, provide feedback and progress about students, and glimpses into the classroom. This spring, we've been piloting a couple different platforms and a couple different methods and a few different grade levels, and we're analyzing feedback. And I'm talking to some parents who are in these classes to get feedback from the parent side and working with faculty. And come August, we will have a much more solidified, across the board, consistent mode of communication. So I'm excited to embark on this work. I've shared this announcement with the faculty a few weeks back at a faculty meeting, and I don't think many people disagreed that this is a need of the school. And we're excited to officially take this idea of partnership in a way that's going to really help bolster our students' success and the open line of communication. Going back to our curriculum mapping project, every school I've ever worked at has had this type of issue comes up where you make this curriculum map, and then as a couple years go by, the needs of the students and the community change, and then that map gets kind of obsolete and outdated. We had a shell of a curriculum map back in August, and from time to time this year as a faculty we've looked at it, and with the work of Zach as taking on the curriculum coordinator role next year, we are going to continue that work when we reconvene in August, and it's going to help us ensure that we are teaching vertically aligned curriculum across grade levels. And what does that mean? For the layman's in the room, the vertically aligned curriculum represents what is being taught in each subject at each grade level to make sure A, that there's not too much overlap, or to make sure B, we're making sure we're teaching the skills and the standards that our students need to know before they graduate 8th grade. And it further makes sure that we are building on the skills of the previous grade level in the next grade level. I had a very interesting parent conversation just this afternoon, and they said, Doug, my kid has done persuasive essay for 2 or 3 years in a row. And I said, yes, and what about their sentence structure in their various persuasive paragraphs that they've written? What about their ability to use complex sentences? What about their ability to write a well-articulated thesis statement? How has that developed in these 3 years? So having a curriculum guide similar to this, that's vertically aligned across grade levels, will really help, not just help inform us as teachers and as educators, our instruction, but it'll help our community know what is being taught and how it's being covered. We will, as always, your classroom teachers will be providing a curriculum guide in the beginning of the year for what's being taught in the grade level. That's something that we always do here at Yavneh. And in January, we will have that comprehensive scope and sequence of learning standards taught at each grade level available. Another thing is Janessa who's here today. I saw her face a few minutes ago. She has kind of been an instrumental part in talking to me and challenging my own thinking about what our middle school can use and how we might better meet the needs of our community and of what we're trying to make sure our students are learning and walking away out of 8th grade with. So some of the items that we're currently working on is we're exploring a modified block schedule option for certain courses. We are also looking at potentially converting our trimester to a semester model to better meet the needs of our curriculum. Next year, and our families should already know this for incoming 7th and 8th graders, we are providing a Spanish 1 as a language option via an accredited program. So if a student takes the Spanish 1 program and they could potentially test into Spanish 2 once they graduate and go into 8th grade. And we're always continuing to look at ways to have cross grade level opportunities amongst our middle schoolers and as well as our 5th grade students. Pre-COVID, the 5th graders used to do more things with the middle school as far as electives and whatnot are concerned. And then with COVID and trying to keep grade levels separate more, that kind of is done away. And we're looking to continue that in as we go into the fall. So that's some of our middle school programming things to share. And then finally, here are a few nuts and bolts, some important things. So the last couple of years with COVID, our arrival and dismissal times have altered a little bit to stagger things. And so I'm going to kind of go over what our arrival and dismissal grid will look like and some other nuts and bolts of the year. Next year, middle school will continue to arrive. Their first period will begin at 8:15, just like it does now. And the 5th to 8th graders can arrive between 8:20 and 8:30, and the campus will open to students at 8 o'clock, just like it does now. The dismissal times will slightly change. Monday through Thursday, kindergarten through 4th graders will all be dismissed at the same time at 3:30. And then 5th to 8th grade at 3:45. And that is to allow the 5th graders to potentially be part of our elective program. And if they're part of the middle school elective program, they have to stay till 3:45 because electives are typically the last period of the day. And then Friday dismissal will be 2:45 for K4 and then 3 o'clock for 5-8. We will continue to have aftercare and Club J next year until 5:30 each evening. We are actively working on putting together what an after-school program will look like. I know that the JCC is working on planning something, is what the rumor I've heard, but I am actively looking to get after-school class offerings available for your students, just like we've done in the past. I know that there's a lot of value in having after school enrichment classes that are student interest based and things that they want to do in their free time. And campus health and safety, we are continuing to follow the guidance of Santa Clara County. That's what we've been doing. Our hope and dream is we can welcome our parents back on campus more fully next year. And we may need to change policies as needed to help make sure we keep our community safe. But our plan is to allow parents in more often. I know like people that have been around for many years talk about the days when they can walk their kid up to class at 8:20 in the morning and drop them off outside the door. And our hope and dream is that that is what we will be able to return to next year, because I also recognize that so much of what people love about the Yavneh experience is not just our academics, but our community. And I seeing our friends in the hall and our parents in the hall at 8:20 or 3:30 every day really gives us that strong sense of community. And doing it in a car line with me and Cindy screaming names through a walkie-talkie is not, it's not the same experience. We try, but it's not quite. So these are some of I think that's my last slide. Yeah, so these are some of the changes that and some of the enhancements that we've been looking at for next year. And I am very optimistic about Yavneh's 41st year. We're going into the summer. Our faculty are all ready for some time to unwind. And I think we're all collectively very excited about a new beginning next year as we embark on our 41st year together. At this time, we have reserved some time for questions and answers, either about what I presented or anything board related. Sarah is here, or Cindy.
And if folks wouldn't mind to pop questions in chat.
Can you hear me if I'm talking from here? Because we can't have two computers going on at the same time. So the first question is about Hamoedon. If we're going to offer it before school, and we are not certain yet if we're going to offer it at 7:30 in the morning. That's something that we have to see if there's a need for it, and then it's possible to staff it. It's very hard to staff something for 1/2 hour between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning. So this year we just started at 8 o'clock in the morning. We let anyone come who needed to come at 8 o'clock, and they went and they played outside for 15 minutes before they were able to go up to their classroom. So that would certainly continue for next year. Are there any other questions in the chat that you want to put in the chat that you have? Anyone want to know the score of the Warriors game? So next question is about head of school search. I will let Sarah answer that one.
I was going to be amazed if no
think
one
you're
asked
muted.
that question. I was very
Sarah.
confused. Can everyone hear me? Okay, so as you might guess, as you might guess, I'm limited in what I can say publicly until there's concrete information one way or another. So here are the things I can share. As you know, we met a candidate on campus a couple weeks ago. I'm guessing that almost everybody who is with us tonight, and hopefully all the missing parents, et cetera, had an opportunity to meet that candidate. Our head of school search committee did an incredibly thorough and amazing job in not only setting up tons of different types of community opportunities for the community to meet with this gentleman, Mr. Richter, but they also then got a feedback form into everyone's hands, and hopefully everyone had a chance to give that feedback. We got a lot of it, which was terrific, and it was really, really productive and positive. So we are continuing to go through next steps in this process. There are several, and we're moving as quickly as we absolutely can while also being thorough and thoughtful. So the moment I have any news to share, or our board has any news to share, and the head of school search committee has any news to share, we will be in touch, and we will keep people posted in the meantime. And just so you know, while we obviously have had this candidate visit the school, we've also continued keeping our lines of communication open. We have kept the job description on our website and out on other postings, and we've continued to be in touch with the search agency who was working on our interim head of school search. So we are continuing to pursue all paths in order to secure a great person to lead the school next school year.
So there's
the sort of no answers. I apologize for that, by the way, but it's the best I can do right now.
There was a suggestion that we introduce our new front office administrator. We sent a picture of her in Hashavua last week. Her name is Jade. She is absolutely lovely and warm and pleasant and very productive. Today was her second day. We're very happy to have her on campus. If you need to reach anyone in the office, her email is jade@yavnehdayschool.org. And I welcome you when you're able to come in the building. When you come into the building for various things, please introduce yourself and say hello. So then there's a question about we announced the educational leadership team and didn't say anything about Hebrew. And we're in process for that right now. We hope to have a very exciting announcement soon about educational leadership for our Hebrew program. We can't share that today, but it will be coming soon. Any other questions? So I know some people like to be surprised, so I won't give away the score, but the Warriors had a good third quarter, which they often do. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I think there is one last question.
Will the students have the option to choose between Hebrew or Spanish?
Yes, Doree, absolutely. This is not a requirement. It is students may opt out of Hebrew and take a Spanish class in lieu of Hebrew. And that is absolutely a family choice. We're piloting it next year with our 7th and 8th graders. And Melissa, no, they cannot take both because it will happen during the language block at the same time each day. I'm sorry, sad face emoji, Melissa, sorry. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions. I am around almost all summer. I'm happy to meet you for coffee, talk more about Yavneh, talk more about everything. Marlo, when will that be an option? So that is for 7th and 8th graders. So you have a few years.
But it's important to point out that
It
this
is.
is an example of programs, continuing to try to be innovative at the school.
Sure.
And we're going to continue to try to pilot programs, see how they work, improve upon them, and then roll them out in meaningful ways. So hopefully this is the beginning of, something exciting.
So I'm around all summer. If y'all want to meet for coffee and talk Yavneh, reach out to me, send me an email. I genuinely enjoy connecting with families and parents when we have that opportunity to do so. And I meant to start with this in the very beginning, and that hey Eliza. I meant to start with this in the beginning and I didn't, is thank you for trusting us with each and every one of your amazing students every day. And my little anecdote about the kindergartners that don't need help across the monkey bars anymore. It's sweet to see that growth, and I could have listed 100 other examples, but these were the two things that came to mind yesterday when I was out with the kids. So thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you for your energy and your questions. And please reach out if you'd like to discuss any of this with me more.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good night, everyone. Be well, stay safe.